I have one story that kind of encompasses all of that. So I know that I have an ego that rivals, like I believe firmly in myself. I know who I am and I believe I'm capable of anything all the time. I actually think I'm a pretty good referee. Like I think I'm really good. I know the rule book inside and out. I know multiple rule books inside and out. I know where I should be on the field. I know how to gauge the temperature of a game. I know all these things. I'm really good. And I know I'm really good because I've only been in this area for a couple of years, few years, and the high school assigners give me the really big games. So I know I'm good. Last year, uh, Notre Dame is at Princeton High. And there are two referees, and I'm the guy near the penalty area. And my partner's back here, and we have headsets on so we can communicate. And there's a lot of action in the penalty area. And he says over the headset, that's a foul, that's a foul, that's a foul. You got a PK. I don't really see what he saw, but that's why there's two of us on the field. I blow my whistle, award the PK. And over the radio, he says, 16 tripped, 18. All right, I got it. Goalie's yelling, screaming. I'm like, hey. I'm like, we both got a trip. We both got a trip. 16 clipped his feet. It's a trip. It's in the box. It is what it is. But I don't really believe it. Like I just didn't see it that way. But he also had a very different angle. So whatever, always trust your partner. And if the roles were reversed, I would wanted him to back me. So I'm going to back him. So I award the penalty kick. The kid from Notre Dame is going to take the kick. As he starts his approach to the ball, he stops. He plants his left foot. He hesitates. And the goalie then dives. And then he takes his last step and kicks the ball into an empty net. It's absolutely an illegal kick. Like there's I will go to my grave knowing for sure that happened. So I blew the whistle and I waved off the goal. And then I awarded an indirect free kick coming out, which is absolutely the right call in U.S. soccer. It is the wrong call in high school soccer. In high school soccer, you're supposed to give a re-kick. But I didn't do that. So the game goes on. Nobody says, like, people are furious with me because I awarded the PK in the first place. People are furious with me because they're not furious. They don't know the restart's wrong. Nobody is yelling you gave the wrong restart. They're yelling, how could you make that call? How could you make that call? He didn't stop. He definitely stopped. All right. So the rest of the game goes on. It's 0-0. In the final seconds of the game, 0-0. Same goal, but now Princeton's going in on goal. And I'm again on that side of the field because all you do is you just walk across the field. So the team switch sides, but the referees don't. So I still have that same goal line. There's less than 10 seconds in the game. There's a corner kick. The stadium clock is right there behind the goal. So I've got a great vantage point of everything. I'm standing on the line and I know what's going to happen. Like karma says this is what's going to happen. And sure enough, kid takes the shot. It crosses the goal line and then the buzzer sounds. And so I blow the whistle and I point to the midfield. It's a good goal. And I go to the timekeeper and I say, you need to put a half a second on the clock. And he's like, we can't put half seconds. I said, fine, put 1 second on the clock. So he puts 1 second on the clock because in high school soccer, the game stops as soon as the ball crosses the line. So game finishes. Obviously, people from Notre Dame are very, very upset with me. Makes sense. And I have words with a few people. There's a mother who comes out of the stands and calls me all sorts of names, says horrendous things. And the athletic director escorts her out. And I'm driving home. And all of a sudden, like a light bulb goes bang. you gave the wrong restart. So I pull over, I look it up in the rule book, and I'm cussing up a storm and sitting there in my truck, just cussing up a storm. So I text my partner and I'm like, hey man, this is what just happened. And he's like, yeah, no worries. Don't worry about it. Nobody cares. And I'm like, but it does matter. There's only one scenario in soccer where a team can appeal the outcome. One scenario. And the one scenario is when a referee awards an incorrect restart. It's the only scenario. So I say that to him. I'm like, yeah, but they can require, as soon as they figure it out, they can, do this. He's like, well, you never should have made that call in the first place. And I'm like, do you really not think he stopped? It doesn't matter. That's too tough a call to make. What? It's the right call though. So like in terms of honesty, why are we being dishonest to one team because we're afraid to make that difficult call? Like everybody was so worried. I've had this conversation probably 100 times now. Everybody is on the same page that I shouldn't have made the call because it's too tough a call. But do you think he stopped? Yeah, he probably did stop. But that's too tough a call to make against that player. Well, what about the goalie? Why does the goalie why is it not a tough call to make against the goalie if I just do nothing and allow the goal to go in? Right? Like that. Why is one guy getting cheated better or worse than the other guy getting cheated? Like to me, that feels dishonest. So anyway, so I said to my partner, I said, listen, I'm going to email the athletic directors and our assigner and our rules interpreter. I'm going to email them all. I'll copy you in on it. I'm just going to tell them this is what happened. He's like, don't do it. He's like, I just looked at the rule book. And I said, you're looking at the wrong rule book. He goes, yeah, but I don't care about the high school rule book. I only care about the U.S. soccer rule book. But we're doing a high school, like, right? So this level of like the willingness he had to just sort of sweep it under the rug. In that moment, I lost, and he's a guy I've worked with before. He's a great referee. I no longer want to work with him because I now know the way he thinks. And what he's saying is he would rather, in all circumstances, take the easier path, the one that will cause the least conflict. That's not the right decisions, not the fair decisions, so I'm all of a sudden with that, like we're talking about, the inability to own up, the inability to be honest, to be genuine. I've now lost all respect for this guy. It's out the window. Meanwhile, I send this email. And Notre Dame and Princeton are going to be two of the top teams in their division at the end of the season. This 2 points that goes to Princeton because of my mess up is going to matter. Like at the end of the season, it's going to matter. So I email the athletic directors and I say, this is the deal. And right away, the assigners are like, Ryan, this is why we love you, but don't worry about this. It's a mistake. It's no big deal. The athletic directors from both schools, Ryan, we appreciate your candor. It's a done deal for us. We're moving on. We're not going to replay the game. We're not going to request that we replay the game. Our rules interpreter, who's a guy who's a lot like me, is like, hold on. I want to make sure we're all talking about the same thing. What Ryan is saying is that he awarded the wrong restart. This is the one criteria where the game could be replayed from that moment. So before everybody says it's a non-starter, I'm asking the question that Ryan has already asked, which is, again, why we like his honesty. But I want to make sure everybody understands. Notre Dame, do you understand you could request to have this game replayed? And Notre Dame's like, no, we're good. We're moving on. I don't do any more Notre Dame games that season. I said to my assigner, I said, listen, for this, those kids are not going to be able to see me come onto the field and not have a bunch of angst and like it's going to go sideways. Just take me off their games. But I happened to run into their coach in town somewhere. And I was like, what? He goes, are you kidding me? He goes, I want you to do all of our games. He's like, I always knew that you were above board, you were honest, you were genuine. I always knew, I would tell my players all the time, like, he's going to get calls wrong, but he's not going to get them wrong because he's out to get you or he's trying to do something, or he's going to get calls wrong because he just saw it differently than you saw it, or, whatever. He's going to make mistakes, but he's never going to do. And I was like, wow. He's like, yeah. He's like, I have way more respect for you now than I did before. And I had respect for you before. He's like, I of course I want you to do our games. The number of other referees that I work with that have said to me since then, you can't make that call, is more telling to me than anything else. Like, I put myself in an unwinnable position. It's bad. I could have just swept it under the rug, right? Like, I could have just been like, yeah, whatever. Nobody knows the difference. And part of it comes down to the fact that I know the video of that incident is on social media. And as I said to my partner, because he was the one who's like, that's going to be all over social media. And I'm like, sure it is, which is the other reason we have to report it, dummy. Because somebody else is going to watch that clip and go, whoa, that's not the right restart. They can call. And I said, and I will not be the guy standing around trying to explain why I didn't do it, why I didn't own up to it. Because I'd have to admit, if I don't own up to it, I'm admitting that I don't know the rules after all. And my ego is too big to ever say I don't know the rules. Of course I know the rules. And I made a mistake. In that moment, I was using the wrong rule book. And that's unforgivable. For me, that's unforgivable. So back to like regret and all that other sort of stuff. If I don't own up in that moment, I promise you 10 years from now, I would wake up in bed and be like, oh my God, I can't. Like, it's bad enough. I'll still wake up because I made the wrong call. But at least now I know that after the fact, I did everything I could to make it right. Now, other people outside of my control, right? They decided to not do it, which I think is crazy, by the way, because I saw how their seasons went. Notre Dame needed that win, and I think they would have won if they would have played the game a second time. But they chose not to. Good for them. But that part of it, that like own your mistake, be honest with people, it never, to your point, like if you're honest with them, are they going to be mad at you? That is one possible outcome. My experience has been overwhelmingly in all sorts of situations. When you look at a person and you say, I messed up. I got that wrong. I didn't mean to do that. I understand now that what I said was hurtful to you. I didn't understand it in the moment. I understand it now. Always makes the situation better.
If you enjoyed that segment with Ryan Bennett, then you're going to love the full 2.5 hour length podcast. Make sure to click here to see the full length podcast, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.